Good morning, everybody. Today is Sunday, April 23rd, and I'm glad you're joining me here in upstate New York. It's a rainy day, but wherever you are, even Minneapolis, where I think it's snowing again, I can't believe that this late in the season. Wherever you are, do me a favor and type in where you're joining me from, because it's always interesting to see which continents we're on, what countries, and ultimately what you sell in a retail store. And also, you can also give me some thumbs up to let me know you're out there and that you like these kind of live videos, as well as you can always subscribe to my channel, either Facebook or YouTube, or even follow me on LinkedIn. And that way you'll always get notifications of when I'm going to go live. Today, I am finishing my series on 6 stories from the field. These are all real stories that I had either as a customer or working in retail. Today, I'm talking about one when I was working in retail. And what we're trying to do today is to really unpack the whole idea of why do so many people struggle when they're at a retail store. And I'm here to give you some clues of that. That's why you can always scroll back and see the other 5 videos where I've talked about these issues. Number 2, to get you to join me for a webinar, which is going to be this Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, where I'm going to be talking about the secrets to keeping customers coming back. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We'll make that about a nice short hour with some half hour with some Q&A. And then also we're starting a spring sprint with all of our Sales RX online retail sales training customers. It starts on next Thursday. So if you join now beforehand, you'll not only get world-class retail sales training, but you'll also get 4 free weeks of group coaching with me. And we're about to announce how I can actually show up at your store at no cost to you, but you've got to be part of the Sales RX community. I'll explain that in the webinar, and I'll also have that in the newsletter tonight. So there you go. Hey, Dave, I'm glad you're here from Dayton, another Buckeye, and Nancy, who has made it every single day. Thanks so much, Nancy. I'm glad you're here. And wherever you are, even if you're watching this on replay, you can still type in where you're joining me from, because I read every comment and take it seriously that you are willing to give me your time to try to share what I think is so in retail and what makes a great environment. All right. So, hey, Rochelle, glad you're here this morning as well. So today's story revolves around Santa Monica, California. Hey, Sherry, glad you're here today. And I actually have a few slides for you today. I used to sell cowboy clothes. Yeah, this is the store in Santa Monica, California. When I took that store, it had fallen on some hard times. One of the first ones that we'd opened back in the early 80s, when Western wear was really a hit. And then for some reason, this store fell off the mark. And I have a whole story I tell you about in my keynotes about what I found when I got there and how the crew hated me so much they got rid of our customer list that I needed to be able to hit goal. But that's another story. This took place in that very store in Santa Monica. So set you up. Oh, and just in case you didn't know, that's what I used to look like. Yeah, I'm sitting down in a chair I'm not with giants, but that's what I used to look like. All right. So in any event, I get this call in that very store one Tuesday morning. It's about, we opened at 10 a.m. This is about like 10:03 a.m. And it's this call, and he says, "Hi, I'm checking to see if you have Fry," and I forget the model of the boot, but it was a very popular boot in the 80s. It was made on muleskin, real light men's boot. Do you have it in 9D? I look up on that big wall, just to remind you that's what I was working in. That big wall I could see over there. We got a 9D in this, easy. So it goes, "Do you have it?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "What's the price?" I go, "Well, at that time, I think it's $159. And he goes, "Oh, you sure you've got it?" I said, "Yeah, I'm looking at it right, dude. I'm looking at it right now. Yes, we have a 9D." He goes, "Well, that's good to know, because I want to save time for my client. He's really in a hurry." I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm the manager for Chris Christopherson, and he'll be stopping in to pick up the boots in about 20 minutes." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I hang up the phone, and then I walk over to that boot wall and I pick up the 9Ds, and they're an 8. Yay! And one of the things that the his manager had said, "It's great you've got those boots, because he'll get some kids' boots for his kids then." And Chris Christopher was really big. I mean, he had just done a big film with Barbara Streisand, A Star Is Born, which was plastered all everywhere, and the soundtrack was still playing on the radio and all sorts of things. And I'm like, "Wow, Chris Christopherson, this is great." And then it's like, "Holy crap, Chris Christopherson, this is not great." So I'm there alone, and somebody was on a break or hadn't shown up or whatever the story was. So I think, okay, I should close the store. I mean, I'll find the boot. I'll just go and we'll have somebody come up and get it. It's like, you can't close the store. It's like, well, you better find the damn boot. So I call around. There's another competitor on the third floor of the mall that has the boot. I think I should close the store. I should go up, buy it, come back. It's like, if I close the store, that's going to set off alarms. And if I get caught, I might get fired. I can't do that. That was not the thing to do. But in any event, here it is, 10:15. It's like, well, what are we going to do, kid? So in walks Chris Christopherson, and he goes, "Where are my boots?" Yeah, about that. And I had to explain to him I didn't have them. There was a mistake. I'm sorry. I found them. They're on the third floor. And I go, and you could come back and buy your kids' boots from me. And I go, I'm a real fan of yours. I saw the movie. He goes, and just walks out. I'm like, great. I never saw Chris again. That was my moment. That was my moment. That if I just had the 9D, I'd have a great story. If I double checked it, if I'd thought about it, if I had two people on board, right? There's a lot of things. But my first point to you this morning is that merchandise not organized well for staff costs you. And in this day when it's all about omni-channel and we can see into your inventory, whether it's online, it shows we have 4. Well, you better have 4, and they better be organized that your staff can find them. Number 2, unless you have it in your hand, it's not in stock. Even if it was Chris, right? Unless you actually have it, it's a risky slope to just go by. Oh yeah. So I always say on such instances like I had, make sure while you're on the phone or get their phone number. Even better, you could text them and say, yeah, I've got it in stock, or they could pay for it there. There's a million things you can do now that you couldn't do, but they're going to go to competitors. Even if you don't recommend it, it's like they wanted the boot. They were sure that they wanted that boot. And this guy ended up trusting me, and I failed him. And at the end of the day, I didn't get the story. Well, I got this story, which is not nearly as cool as the story I was hoping for. But if I had it in stock, I would have had great customer loyalty. And more importantly, I might have seen the guy more than once and go from there. Absolutely, Dave. Organization is critical for profitability. I think of so many back rooms when I go into a retail store and I see people with just carelessly put away or boxes that have nothing on them. And I always think, how much money is this costing you? So, by the way, has that ever happened to you? Have you ever lost a sale because of stock? Put it in the comments below. Put it and let me know. If you lost a sale because you thought you had something in stock and you didn't, put it in there. And by the way, you can always give me a thumbs up. Let me know you're out there. Give me some applause if you're on LinkedIn. That's a little differently. Has that ever happened to you in your retail store? Time that you might have thought you had something and you didn't, and lost the sale? Type it in there. Well, I've done all of this because there is this Tuesday. While you're all putting that in, I'm doing a live webinar on Tuesday afternoon at 3:00 Eastern time on secrets to keeping customers back and coming back. And I think a lot of times we get so focused on our loyal customers, we become blind to that pipeline we need of people who want to come back. Because a lot of times we have people, friends and family in the neighborhood, and they love us and they tell you you're great. But the key is that person that comes in the first time, are they going to recommend you? Are they going to come back? That's what counts. So I hope you will join me. I'm going to put the link in the description below, and you can always go through and if you can't make it, then you can always go through and register, and I'll send you the link. You can watch it within 72 hours. But that's the key, is all talk about all 6 of those stories all come down to moments where either we missed it as a salesperson, we missed it for the customer, and how that impacted that person. That's what I hope you get out of these 6 stories, because I don't even think these 6 stories are I don't think they're in my book, The Retail Doc's Guide to Growing Your Business. And we're almost totally out of print on that. So there you go. So I hope you'll join me on Tuesday at 3:00 for our quick webinar. And then if you have any questions at the time, I can answer them. And then don't forget that we also are going to be starting a sprint, which is focused 4 weeks of group coaching calls with me. You'll be able to not only get Sales RX and get on the system and be able to grow your sales, but you'll be able to end that nagging question: how come a competitor is getting sales that I deserve? And frankly, there's a million people out there that will tell you you need Instagram influencers, and we need Chat GPT, and we need this and this and this and this. And the most crucial way most fall down is that experience in your 4 walls. Master that, life is easy. It doesn't matter what you sell. Even when I was at South Coast Plaza, dressed as a cowboy, and the owner came down, he's like, "What are you doing down here to get all these high sales?" Because it was highest sales growth in the mall for the year. And I go, "It doesn't matter what I sell. I could sell cars, I could sell Western wear, I could sell dresses. It's all the same. Either I come to the challenge of opening my heart to another person, or I don't. I either train my crew, here's how you expand your world, or I don't, and we let them be bitter and, what can I help you find? I'm looking for a pair of black jeans. They're over there. Let me know if you need anything. Dressing room's back there. Oh, exhausting day at retail because the party's in the aisles, right? And the same thing with Chris. Imagine the story I could have had, the conversation I could have done. Who knows? You can't go back. You have to give up the hope of the past could have been different. But just going in that moment, and who knows if I'd really had presence of mind, I might have gone through and looked at each and every one, or I might have sat him down and said, "Are you sure you're a nine?" Or there's other things. But in that moment, I failed him, and that's not a good thing. Uh, LinkedIn user says, "What is my take on the Bed Bath and Beyond bankruptcy this morning?" I think it's a sad story. I think the reality of a lot of bankruptcies we're seeing in retail is businesses that expanded much too far for their target customer. In other words, they had cheap money. Developers would say, particularly in Bed Bath and Beyond, it's like, "Oh, we'll either put you or a Michaels in a center. We'll put a Home Depot or a Lowe's in the center. We'll put a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts in the center. We'll put a Party City or there's one more I was thinking of in the development." And that was that was the formula, and that all worked when money is cheap and you had to drive places. But quite simply, they were overexposed. And let's face it, they were a coupon driven business, much like Michael's, much like JCPenney was. And while their customers were loyal, they only came in when they got that coupon and they kept being couponed. And then I don't know if you went in their stores. I mean, they had the remodels, which I have not seen, but it was a lot of product and a lot of the brand names were out and they couldn't quite follow the supply chain. So I hope they reorganize. I hope they make it. Again, less retailers means less choice, means more people are going to go online. But at the end of the day, I think we've seen the warning signs on this company for 3 or 4 years, not unlike what ended up happening with Sears. Sears should have been Amazon. I think we all acknowledge that. They had the products, they had the customer information, they had the last minute delivery, they had the catalog, they had, and yet somebody had the bright idea, starting with the softer side of Sears. Let's move from here to here, and let's not look at how we help that customer and hold on to them longer time. And that's really what is the secret for, I think, great retailers is you have to be able to not only wow them when they're in the store, but give them the reason to come back. And that usually means branding their butt with loyalty. And that's not going to be because you gave them a $2 coupon. Although in Bed Bath and Beyond, it may have got people in. But the other question I would have is how many were returning on a regular basis. And in that very select niche, it seems like a department store might get more business for the simple reason that when I make that trip to the store, I have more things to choose from. So that might be an idea, something to consider. Hey, Diane, glad you're here this morning. Hey, thanks for joining me this morning. My goal is to be around 10 to 15 minutes, and we're there. Yes, I would agree with that, Dave. Amazon Sears was Amazon, but lacked the innovative insight. Yeah, exactly. Well, they started grasping at straws, but I'll tell you, back in the '80s, one of the big things with the softer side, I went into one of them, and actually the one in South Coast Plaza, and their new beauty department looked amazing. It was right as you walked up, and they had these huge posters of these beautiful women, and I was there at the grand reopening of the store, and the manager said, and all of those women were either women who worked there or they were the wives of people who worked there on the floor at that store. And I thought, well, that's really brilliant. Now that's back in 1980, my goodness, 86 maybe. And you think about it, and everybody touts, "Oh, look at Lululemon." They go in and they take pictures of all the yoga instructors in the area, and they have photo shoots, and they put them on the wall. Yeah, well, Sears did that 20 years earlier. They were pretty innovative about it. Pretty amazing. A localized look at beauty. You had people who actually were in the store that you would see their face, make them the celebrity. So many things worked on that idea, and then they just couldn't make it work. And then, of course, one person came in and bought it and did all the stuff. I won't go any farther with that story. But anyway, I'm glad you're here today, and I'm glad those of you who joined me for this live. If you're joining it afterwards, do me a favor and still type in where you're joining me from, because we're building a tribe of people who believe we can change the world by the people working and shopping in retail. I'm Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doc. I hope you will join me for the webinar this Tuesday at 3 p.m. and the registration details will be below. Until then, I will see you at the start of May for my next live video, and have a great weekend.